It's the PGA, the second leg of the four major championships. I am so excited about this. Maybe I'm the only one because everybody puts down the PGA. Oh, the Masters, and I love the Masters. It is so wonderful. It is so special. You drive down Magnolia Lane. The U.S. Open. Oh, the National Championship. What a test. Narrow fairways, deep rough, and of course, the Open Championship. It's in the UK. It's in Scotland, or this year in England. We love those. And then comes the PGA, and it's kind of dismissed. We're going to talk about all the exciting things that happened and did not happen in the PGA. My mother was a redhead, just so full of vitality and energy, fun to be around. She always had a saying when things went wrong that, well, he's treating her like a redheaded stepchild, or why are you treating me like a redheaded stepchild? I don't know where that ever came from, but my mom was a redheaded. She wasn't a stepchild, but she was adored. A lot of people would say the PGA Championship is the redheaded stepchild of the major championships, but it is not. You know what? It has a history of what did not happen, maybe even more than what happened. And we're going to get right into that. We're going to talk about the history of the PGA Championship. And this one is held Aronimink, which is a great course. It's just outside Philadelphia. How appropriate in this 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. A great year for our nation to have this major championship in the Philadelphia area. Philadelphia is great for golf. Has three of the best courses in all the world. In addition to Aronimink, it has Pine Valley. I almost got to play Pine Valley. Robert Trent Jones met me at the World Cup, and he was a fan of mine when I was doing sports at CNN and invited me to play Pine Valley. I did not take him up on that. Oh, what a bad choice. And of course, there is Merion. I've covered the U.S. Open at Merion. What a course. That's the course, you might recall, that has the wicker baskets instead of flagpoles and flags on the green marking where the hole is. They have wicker baskets on a stick, kind of like shepherds taking their lunch to the golf course while they're watching sheep, of course. We talk about big names. We're going to talk about big names in the PGA Championship, and one of the biggest names is Donald Ross. This is a Donald Ross golf course. Who is greater among all golf course architects than Donald Ross? And it's interesting. The guys been playing in Texas, Arizona, Florida with the Arnie's tournament and the Donald Trump's course at Doral, and of course the TPC Championship. All of them played in Florida on flat courses, flat Texas, and now they've been playing on courses flatter than a Vogue model. Incidentally, whoever thinks they look great? Bones showing through across the upper chest. They're so skinny and bony, but hey, Vogue magazine is not critiquing my golf casts and my YouTube channel, so why am I criticizing them? Let's get back to the shapeliness of this golf course, Aronimink, just outside Philadelphia in the Northeast, where these guys have all been playing in the South now and on flat courses. And this is what the golf course looks like. Well, not exactly this, but it's a bowl like this. And Donald Ross loved it, so you can play on the outer edges of the bowl. Some of the holes go this way, some go that way, some go down into the valley. The greens, we'll talk about the greens in a little bit because that's going to be a key to who is going to win the PGA Championship. But first, let's talk about all the big names. We're going to take a deep look at Ben Hogan. We've already talked about Donald Ross, Ben Hogan, Arnold Palmer, Walter Hagen. Walter Hagen has a great relationship. I mean, he PGA championships than anybody. Seems like he won 20, but he won, 5. But Walter Hagen has a great It's not what he did, it's what he didn't do, and the embarrassment that he experienced. And of course, Arnie, well, we're going to talk about what didn't happen to Arnold Palmer and a plaque that's there for something that didn't happen. We'll talk about that in a minute. And of course, Sam Snead, the most embarrassing loss he ever had in his life was the PGA Championship. And while we're talking about big names, what about as we're coming into this tournament? Is anybody playing better than Cam Young? He's ranked number 3 in the world right at the present time. And of course, Rory is going for the second leg of this year to try to make the Grand Slam of golf. Scotty Scheffler, the defending champion. And hey, Brooks Koepka. Brooks Koepka has won a couple of these majors, these PGA championships, and just a couple of years ago he won. So he's getting ready to play good against after this disaster with Live Golf. What in the world ever happened? Boy, the Saudis pulled their money out and it's about ready to go down the tube. But let's talk about one of the greatest things in the history of golf that didn't happen. It was 1953 and involves the PGA Championship. The greatest year any golfer's ever had. The golfer, Ben Hogan. Everybody had thought that he was kind of pulling back from golf and he wouldn't be as great as he was before. And he didn't have a good year in 1952 and he was being critiqued. He be determined that he was going to have a great year in 1953. He prepared for the West, worked out in California, getting his game ready, and was he ever ready? Best year ever. He actually played only 5 PGA Tour sanctioned events. He played 6 tournaments that year, 5 of them PGA Tour sanctioned. All the ones that were PGA Tour events, he won. 5 for 5. And majors, 3 for 3. He comes and he wins the Masters, easy 5-6 shots, just a walk away in the Masters. U.S. Open was a little bit tougher. He had to battle Sam Snead down the line. And he made this great drive in the last round on 17 and drove the green, actually. 2-putted for birdie, and Snead struggled, and Hogan pulled away to win the U.S. Open. Then he goes to Carnoustie. He wins the British Open, so he wins the Masters, the U.S. Open, the British Open. What happened with the PGA? He would have had the Grand Slam, as it was. He had the Hogan Slam, the triples. He didn't play the PGA. He couldn't. There was a conflict between the PGA and the British Open, the Open Championship, and Hogan chose to play in the Open Championship. Why? Because, well, in the PGA, it was match play. You might play a couple of rounds a day. Hogan, as you remember, was so beat up by that horrible automobile accident that he could, well, walk 36 holes in one day and do it for 4 or 5 days in a row. So he opted to go to the British Open, won the Open Championship. The greatest year ever. If the PGA had been later, if it had not been in match play, if it had been middle play, that might have been the Grand Slam. The only professional Grand Slam ever won. What happened to Arnold Palmer? We're going to get back to Hogan in just a second. In fact, I'll tell you what, let's take a break and look at Ben Hogan and go back just a few years after that, after the triple majors that he won in 53. A couple years later, still back in the late 50s, he appears on television. Rare appearance for Ben Hogan. And he tells us one of the most important things we can learn about the golf swing, and that is connectedness. Let's take a look back.
In the late 60s, I believe it was, Hogan appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show, which was the biggest show in television at that time, and he gave an instructional tip. Ed Sullivan loved golf, so he loved getting the free lesson from Hogan. What was Hogan's lesson?
Clutch your sides with your elbows and visualize your elbows being attached to your body and your arms instead of at your shoulders. And just start moving your body from right to left, around in a circle, holding your elbows in your side, right in your side. Now, we can't go around a golf course doing this all day, so we must lengthen this swing somewhere or other. You see, this is a absolutely full swing. Isn't that simple?
He said the most important part of the golf swing is the relationship of the elbows to the hips. In other words, we think our arms hang from here down, and that's how we think the swing is. Hogan says it's the elbows and the hips connected. So in other words, he is like this and this. See the connection? The elbows are staying right with the hips. So see, they turn together. And then as you swing and the swing gets longer, the elbows move away from the hips just a bit. But if you focus on the hips being connected to the elbows, you're going to be very successful and have a very tight, good Hogan-like swing. So first we're doing this, elbows, 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 and then pretty soon we're just like that, like Hogan would do. In fact, I got to do it more in balance. Okay. That's actually a Hogan-esque type swing, but I felt connected.
Wow. Ben Hogan, keep those elbows together. Keep that swing compact, tight together. We said we're going to talk about Hogan, Palmer, Walter Hagen. Let's hit Walter Hagen. What's Walter Hagen's connection with the PGA in terms of something that didn't happen, the loss of glory? Yeah, that was the Wanamaker Trophy. There was a businessman, Rupert Wanamaker, that donated this really great trophy for the winner of the championship, and Hagen kept winning it. And then all of a sudden it disappears. Hagen doesn't know where it is. He said, I think I left it in the front seat of the taxi. It didn't appear until years later in the basement of this store in New York. And they found the Wanamaker Trophy. And so Walter Hagen had to live with the fact that he lost the trophy. How did that make him feel? Tell you about how Arnold Palmer felt about the PGA. It kept him from winning the career Grand Slam. His dad, professional, but not an official member of the PGA of America, because Deacon Palmer, Arnie's dad, who was first the greenskeeper for the golf course and then later the teaching pro, the PGA of America had a handicap rule. And because of that problem that Deacon Palmer had, I mean, he wasn't without a handicap, so physical handicap we're talking about. So he was never a member of the PGA of America. Arnie wanted to win that. Wanted to win it for his dad, wanted to win it for the career Grand Slam. Came close 3 times, he finished second, but we're going to talk about a plaque for something that didn't happen. It's Pecan Valley in Texas, the PGA Championship. Arnie coming to the last hole, trailing by 1 single shot, snap hooks it. And it's a bad lie. It's in the rough. He's got to go over the creek, up the hill. He hits one of the greatest golf shots ever hit. He hits the fairway wood, boom, down and through like Arnie. The dust and the grass and everything, the sod flew forward, and the ball just never left the flag. Hits and bounces up 8-10 feet away. And Arnie can finally win the PGA Championship but miss the putt. Him hit 2 not good shots, but gets up and down miraculously to win by 1 puny shot over Arnold Palmer. So they put a plaque there at Pecan Valley where Arnold Palmer hit that great shot on number 18 to almost fulfill his dream. Do you know where it is today? You don't? Well, join the crowd. Nobody else knows where it is. Pecan Valley doesn't exist. San Antonio kind of moved north in town and developed in that direction. The south part where Pecan Valley was kind of went into, the course was closed. It's just sitting there somewhere there in the dirt and the sagebrush is a plaque that commemorates one of the greatest golf shots ever made. Okay, so Hogan didn't do it with the PGA in 53. Arnie didn't do it in 68. Walter Hagen lost the Wanamaker Trophy. What about Sam Snead? Well, we don't need to say anything about Sam Snead except the worst loss of his life occurred in the PGA Championship in the finals against diminutive little poison Paul Runyon. Paul Runyon beat Sam Snead. Match play. In other words, hole by hole by hole. He beat him by 8 holes. In other words, there were only 7 holes left to play, and Paul Runyon was up by 8 holes. He beat him so bad. Sam Snead wasn't really even in it. And they said in that tournament that Walter Hagen, Sam Snead outdrove Paul Runyon by 80 to 100 yards on many of the golf holes and still lost. Shows you chipping and putting counts for a lot. And speaking of chipping and putting, that's going to be the key. I mentioned one of the keys to winning this year's PGA Championship on the Donald Ross course, the bowl-shaped golf course, and with greens with spines in them. So you're kind of putting from this side to this side, and you got to go over a spot. Lag putting. Get that? Lag putting is going to be the most important part of winning. Driving the golf ball, like we learned from Hogan. Driving it straight, driving it long, and then putting. That's going to be your PGA champion. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be Rory? Going to be Scotty? How about Cam Young? Brooks Koepka? And the other guys, Goddard, Akshay Bhatia. There are some. Hey, how about Fitzpatrick? I mean, there are a lot of guys that are playing great. So, in our next episode, in just a couple of days, we're going to be right back, and we're going to tell you who is going to win the 19. I'm still back. It's the 21st century, Bob. Okay, the 2026 PGA Championship. It's going to be great. I love being with you. Continue to watch these Golf's Ironman golf cast, and we'll be right back in just a couple of days. Thanks for watching.